Are you looking to take the next step in your Rocket League career? Then join the RLPC using the Discord link below.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Rocket League Premier Circuit. My name is Quantum Deathcat, and I am here with Cubics for now for the desk. How are you, my man?
I'm good, thank you.
Hey, we got ourselves some independent league tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We're starting off things with the Hammerheads and Cubs for Paladin.
Yes, thanks. Both teams currently sit at 3-3, and both are not looking fantastic offensively. Both are averaging under 6.5 shots per game, and they're both in the bottom half of the league for goals for. So look for a defensive battle tonight.
Yeah, the Cubs are technically 2-3 because their first win of the season was actually a forfeit win. So they actually started off the season and they only got their first win a week ago on Tuesday, December 1st against the Sailors.
Yeah, that was the Cubs, right?
Yeah, the Cubs.
Yeah, sorry. Cubs are right now in the top half of the league for shot percentage at 36.6, but they are by far the worst team in opponent shot percentage at a whopping 41%. So they're going to need to keep the quality chances for the Hammerheads down to a minimum for tonight. Other than that, they're a little bit of an unremarkable mid-pack team as we've seen so far, but their lineup has been revamped recently after they dropped both Angry Peanut and Surf, and their two new players to the squad, Whiteout Black and TDS, are looking to bring something new to this team and turn the tides.
And turn the tides indeed up against the Hammerheads, who won their first two games of the season and then lost two to the Sailors and Jackals. The Sailors, by the way, who were beaten by the Cubs. And then the Hammerheads won against the Roadrunners and then lost in a sweep to the Dragonflies. They seem very inconsistent, this Hammerheads team. They can win against some teams and then lose against others. That sometimes they should win and sometimes they should lose, respectively.
Yeah, just by the last two games you mentioned, they beat the Roadrunners, who are a fairly solid team, and the Dragonflies, who are a mid-pack team, but being swept by them and beating the Roadrunners, I can see that inconsistency. This team, though, is by far the worst team in the league in goals per game, averaging just under 1.6 goals per game, which is 0.3 goals worse than the next team. Their shooting percentage is also 2% lower than anybody else in the league, but their strong point is definitely their defense, as they're third in goals against per game and play a lot of low-scoring contests. If they can be solid enough on defense to keep the Cubs out of their net, they could have a shot at winning this one purely on that defensive side.
Yeah, exactly. And looking at both teams, they're actually in the lower half for shots against, although their opponent shooting percentage are pretty abysmal, as we've stated earlier. That's still looking pretty good. Letting on 6.77 for the Cubs and shooting almost the same amount, and for the Hammerheads 5.89 when they shoot themselves 5.74. So both teams are really equal. They don't let on more shots than they shoot themselves.
Yeah, they have very low shooting and shooting percentage as well, but their shot consistency seems to be pretty high on the Cubs side and not so much for the Hammerheads. So I think that's going to be their point to improve on for this game, is going to be that shot percentage and capitalizing on those chances that they get. For the Cubs, it's just going to be about tightening up the defense and making sure that they're at least level with the offensive pressure that the Hammerheads are pushing on, as that is not necessarily one of their super strong points.
Now, if we look at some more stats here around the league, while we wait for these teams to come in, we have teams that we should state that shooting the ball more doesn't actually equal out a better outcome, right? Or letting on more shots, I should say, right? So let's say like the Griffins, who are currently 4-2, have a 31% shooting percentage and a 35% opponent shooting percentage, which is surprising. They let on more shots than they score, than they let on themselves, and they score 0.6 less than their opponents. And despite that, they've got 4 wins.
Yeah, with a team like that, it's about the timely shooting, and I think that the Hammerheads are going to have to be more emphasizing on that point about actually getting the goals when they really need them and capitalizing again on those super open shots that the Cubs are going to be giving, because they're not super tight on keeping the ball out of danger.
Yeah, and well, if we look at around the league, right, the Cubs, they're kind of low on their goals per game, but I'd say it's pretty midfield. Meanwhile, Hammerheads, as you said, there's only 3 teams that shoot less than 2 goals per game right now, and the Hammerheads are far beyond at the worst right now, with Foxes in second and Sorcerers in third. Both those teams are really lowly teams, especially the Sorcerers, who are 0-6.
Yeah, the one thing that surprises me about that, as you said, is the Sorcerers are third last in there. They are currently 0-6 in the entire league, and the Hammerheads are 3-3. So they must be doing something right on that defensive end that the Sorcerers are not. And even if you look at the opponent's shooting, the Sorcerers are averaging also more shooting percentage by about 6% than the Hammerheads. But yet they're 0-6, so it might just be a strength of schedule thing, but something has gone terribly wrong for the Sorcerers, and the Hammerheads are having a little bit of luck go their way so far, as it seems.
But yeah, as you said, there's also only 3 teams who let on less than 2 goals per game, right? And normally those are the very defensive teams, right? So the Dragonflies, who are 5-1, have a 1.65. The Wildebeests, that are 6-0, have 1.74, but in third place are the Hammerheads, right, at 1.89. So they're doing something right with that defense, but as good as their defense is, they can't find offense despite their good defense. And so they need to turn that good defense into a good offense as well, right? In other sports, we say that a good defense leads to a good offense. In Rocket League, that is not a given. You can play amazing defense, but stay in your own zone the entire game. And so you need to be able to not only play defense, but also get out of your own zone. And right now, it just seems like the Hammerheads can't do that.
Yeah, seeing what the Hammerheads can do, these games should be pretty low scoring and defense-based for both teams, possibly. And they do seem fairly evenly matched on terms of play on the field. The Cubs do have a slight edge based on their offensive pressure tonight. And if I had to guess, I would say it would be a 3-2 or 3-1 finish for the Cubs tonight, with every game being a pretty close match, considering it'll all be pretty low scoring. And I wouldn't be surprised if we saw an overtime or 2 tonight.
And yeah, speaking of an overtime, do you think that the Cubs win or the Hammerheads win? And what would give them the opportunity?
Yeah, I think tonight it's looking to be in favor of the Cubs purely because of their offense and the good pressure that they can give. For the Cubs, they have a couple of bright lights here in terms of Ray Finkel, who's shooting himself at 41%. And I think if the Cubs can feed him the ball, things will look good for them. One of the other men on the team, Whiteout, is averaging 0.9 goals per game as well. So those two, along with Chuck's 1.3 saves per game, should be a good, evenly matched combo. On the Hammerheads, you don't have anything as dynamic like that. Sicko is the only one who could possibly make a difference. He was just traded from the Badgers here in exchange for Rob as a chemistry move, and tonight will be an interesting test. He's averaging over a save per game for the team, and he could be a good defensive piece for them, but we'll have to see what his impact can be with this team.
I do like to see on the Hammerhead side that they have 3 players with over half an assist per game, meaning that they do play around and they do make passes to each other when they do score. And if I look really quickly, yeah, the goals assisted is pretty high, especially compared to the Cubs, who have a 61%. That doesn't mean too much, but Hammerheads have a 73% goals assisted, and that's on the higher end. That's top 5.
Yeah, I think that's going to be another important part for the Cubs, is to eliminate the passing lanes and make sure the balls stay in the corner so that they can't come in front of the net. I know it sounds obvious, but doing that is a lot harder than it sounds, especially against a team like this, who seems to get a lot of those assisting plays. And if they can cut off those passing lanes, that'll be a good way to get their defense going and possibly bring it back the other way for a goal on the other end.
All right. Well, I have to say one last thing before we go back to the casting booth. Thank you, Cubics, for the analysis over here, I should say. And yeah, it's been nice to hear about that. Thank you for covering Paladin League. Will you be back a little bit later?
No, tonight I think we have the rest of the Independent League going with Renegade, Maverick, and Independent Games later.
Yeah. So, well, thank you, Cubics, for coming along. And I will move on here with Moss to the casting booth. Moss, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, man. Just it's a nice night, a little bit chilly outside, but you know what? We're all inside, so I'm ready to watch some Rocket League.
Yeah, the Rocket League is sure to be bone-chilling for sure, and it doesn't help that it's winter out there. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Rocket League Premier Circuit, and we got ourselves a Paladin match to start off this day. We got Hammerheads versus Cubs, and how are you wonderful ladies and gentlemen doing, and what are you expecting, Moss, having listened into this conversation that I had with Cubics?
Well, both teams, as you mentioned, struggling off the gate or early in the gate here, both 3-3, both also with an 0-1 in their own division, respectively. So as you said, it's going to be more of a defensive game, and I'm looking to see who can get on the board first, because that will likely dictate the rest of the momentum. But as of right now, I'm going to have the Cubs, just simply because they score more often than the Hammerheads. And but yeah, it can always change in a heartbeat.
It can always change. 2 seasons ago, in the AA League, before Independent was even brought back, there was a team in Season 11 called the Lightning, and they were the best defensive team in the league, but they finished 4-14, I do believe. You can check. It's either 6-12 or 4-14. I don't remember very well, but the good defensive teams doesn't mean that you will win games. And right now, the Hammerheads, if they can find offense and be a good defensive team, that is going to be absolutely incredible, as Cooper Nuts scores the first goal here, giving the Hammerheads some offense.
Yep, that was just a beautiful pass there from, I believe it was Scraps, correct me if I'm wrong, but Cooper with a beautiful finish over top of the defender's head. Placed it in basically the only place it could have been, and right away they got the momentum. So we'll see if they can keep that going.
And so for the Hammerheads, you got Cooper, you got... oh man, that's a name. And yeah, boy, Porter. And on the other side, you have Ray, you have Helpful, and you have Chuck. How do you say that random gibberish of letters there? How would you say that name?
It's your boy Porter.
No. The one, the second.
Oh, I just said Scraps. So,
Scrap?
I'll just roll with that. I don't know if that's right or not.
It is Scraps. Okay, Revi says it is Scraps. Yes.
Awesome. You know what? Sometimes guesses are right.
Yeah, my dyslexia did not enjoy that one very much. Oh, Ray almost scoring on himself, but he misses the ball in scraps. He does find the goal there. Yeah, he's just an opportunist here. Everyone missing, and he just finds a wide open net. The ball is slow, but easy goal.
Well, fitting in with his name perfectly. He just picked up the scraps there and finished it off, and they lead it now 2-0 over the Cubs. And the Cubs offense has to get going here because their defense has not been reliable so far in this one.
All right, well, before we continue on here, ya boy Porter has put in a third goal for the Hammerheads, and we were afraid of the offense for this team. And suddenly, oh, Chuck goes touch there, doesn't make the ball go to the corner. That could have been a touch, I think.
Yeah,
But,
most definitely it could have been, but you know what? Taking advantage of some missed touches is something that is kind of understated when you're playing the game of Rocket League, and the ability to just, kind of put those balls in that you don't expect the opponents to miss is crucial if you want to take a 3-0 lead like they have here.
Definitely. I want to thank XFOC for having given us 5 bits earlier on the stream. Sorry for not seeing that. Alfie, thank you for the 3 bits just about a minute ago. Thank you guys for the support.
It's great to see that support for us, man. It helps a lot.
Does help a lot. The Cubs are in the offensive zone, trying to find their first goal. Helpful with a shot and scraps, with a great save there off of the crossbar. It's still in the offensive zone. Ray, he can't find it, and that's 3 cars missing that ball there, and it slowly rolls into the corner, and it stays in the Hammerheads territory here. They need to get this out because they're running low on boost.
Yep, they certainly do need to get it out, and as you can see, this rotation is perfect. Almost another goal right there. The rotation right now from the Cubs, it is perfect. They're keeping that third man just enough back so he can stay back if the ball does go to their half, and also push forward if there is an empty net. So great work so far, but they still have to get one in really soon here if they want to have a chance of coming back.
Yeah, and that might be it, Ray. He tries to find it. He's going to leave it for helpful, but that's not going to work out. And, well, I said it earlier, right? Like, if Hammerheads can figure out their offensive woes here, that's going to be extremely important for them because their defense is so strong, and we saw that. Look at their rotations on defense. It's very strong, especially for players of this level. Having such strong rotations on defense is practically unheard of. So having amazing defensive chemistry like this is practically very incredible, actually.
Yeah, and along to go with that as well, they are right now sitting at 3-0, and that is double their goals per game average on the season. But here come the Cubs trying to say, hey, no, we're going to come back with this using our offense against this defense. So, but yeah, right now it's only a 2-goal game now. We were talking about, how they were pretty much out of it this game, but they're right there.
They are right there knocking on the door. 71 seconds. They have life. I think, who is the, oh no, that is unfortunate, and that's a third goal right away. And yeah, before anyone else gets confused about that, I do think that Fool is the Renegade sub for the Cubs here. And is that why you were thinking that the Cubs might win here, because they have a Renegade player?
Yeah, I was thinking that might be a thing because I asked them, I says, who is this guy, And then they said, oh, we had to bring a sub down because one of our players was missing. But sometimes if you bring a guy in who hasn't played with you a whole lot, that can actually hurt you. Scraps, what a shot at double touch. They lead it 5-1 against the Cubs.
It's a very unconventional double touch, but he reads where this will likely land and puts his car in the perfect position so that the ball just jams itself home. And it goes in. It's 5-1, 52 seconds left here. And that is a very important goal there. I think that's the nail in the coffin. Surely you can't come back with 40 seconds left here, down 4 goals. Make that 5, Cooper.
Man. And I mean, we were saying just with 1:11 to go, it was 3-1. That was 31 seconds ago. And now there's no way the Cubs are going to be able to come back from this one. They're just going to have to forget about this one and move on to game number 2.
And Echo, I think he either hopes that the team gets a Brazil or he is terrified of the thought of a Brazil here coming out from one of the weakest offenses in Paladin. And that I think that's the biggest surprise, isn't it? The weakest offense is finding themselves in a position where they can possibly, if they find another goal in the next 15 seconds here, a Brazil.
Yeah, that's huge. And sometimes you start the season off, like we said last time we were casting, sometimes it's not until later in the season where you really see a true team's potential. And right now it seems that maybe they've figured something out on offense to the point where they're not just going to score maybe 1 to 2 goals every game, but they're going to start scoring upwards of 6. And that's really tough to beat a team that scores that much.
And, the Cubs bringing down a player. Apparently, it's Helpful Fool's 4th time subbing down. Isn't that the maximum for a player, or is that the maximum for a team?
I believe that is the maximum amount for a team. So I'll have to make sure I look at that so I'm not wrong. But as far as I know, that is the maximum amount of sub downs that you can have. So the Cubs are in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah,
in that
if
department.
they ever have another game where only 2 players show up, there's going to be a problem here. And could you?
Speaking of problems.
Yeah, speaking of problems, I've just contacted Bard so he can go make us a new server here, as he's told me to do so. And let's talk about that game. Surprisingly, Hammerheads coming in here with a big W here, a big statement win. And what do you expect out of this next game here?
Well, sometimes you'll see a big statement win from one side, and then the other side's like, hey, you know what? There is no way we lose a game like that. And they just come out swinging in the second game. That's kind of what I'm looking out for from the Cubs right now. Is I don't think they're going to go out quietly. I really don't, because that offense, 2.5 goals per game almost. It's pretty high. It's not the highest, but if you get about 2 goals per game and maybe just shut that team out, that's what I'm really looking for from them.
Yeah, and that'll be very important. Oh, what's going on here?
Version mismatch.
I think that Rocket League just had an update, and us Steam players can't go get it because the update isn't available yet. But the game says that we need to update. That is interesting. I've never seen this before.
Boo! Guess what, boys?
What's up?
It's me, and it is update time. You are correct for Rocket League. We know that they were going to do update. We don't actually know how long it's going to be, so we are actually probably going to go ahead and just end the stream for right now. We'll be back as soon as I can, as soon as I let you know, just pay attention to stream announcements and we'll let you know. But for now, we're going to go. Yeah, Pew Shooter, I am fully aware of what was happening. But, admins made the choice to just stick it out and see what happens. So thank you guys very much. But for the first game, that's it. And hopefully we'll continue on. But I will let you guys know ASAP. But stay tuned and we will let you know ASAP.
All right. Well, we'll see you in too long here. We'll be back very shortly and for some more Rocket